So good morning once again. Just to introduce myself, my name is Andy. My particular area of expertise is the admission process. Specifically for Villanova, I work in the Office of Undergraduate Admission. So I work with students coming from Massachusetts, looking to learn a little bit more about that. So happy to lend a hand and some expertise and insight into what kind of can be helpful information in terms of as you're getting ready to apply and get your college application, your supplemental essays in order. So again, just as a disclaimer, can't give you feedback on your actual essay, but there is a lot to be said. And as I was putting this presentation together, I was trying to cover a lot of different areas. There's so much to be said, and I can help give a lot of general ideas, a lot of tips and tricks, helpful hints and whatnot. So that's what we'll kind of do. So I'm going to go ahead and pull up the presentation really quick. So starting from the top, crafting your perfectly imperfect essay. So the one thing to say first and foremost is that for the admission policies and services for every institution, they're all a little bit different. So as you're going through and you're looking at each individual school that you're interested in learning more about, a lot of schools, us included, they have a little intersection, most especially for the essay, because this is such a crucial part of the application. I know a lot of people like to scoff and say, oh, it's such a high volume of applications, like how seriously can this be taken? And we do look at the essays very seriously. As it was mentioned, you know, we have some pretty interesting topics that we cooked up this summer, and we completely revamped our entire application process in terms of how the essay is being read and handled, just because this is something that's really important as we want to get to know you beyond just the transcript and test scores and whatnot. So as I mentioned, offices do things a little bit differently. We all have our little intro sections to help you provide some of that structure, to give you some more in depth, and also don't feel like you can't ask out and reach out for questions. But I just poured a fresh cup of coffee. I'm ready to jump into this. We'll see how this goes. We may laugh, we may cry. We're going to see what happens. Make sure you have a pen and a paper ready, or if you want to type up some notes, I do have some activities in here too. Again, with the virtual option, not sure how this is going to work, but we're going to do our best. But we will go ahead and jump right on in. So my first piece of advice is, as you are getting ready to complete your application, is to relax. Take a deep breath, and I really mean it. I want to see everyone do it. I can only see 3 people on the screen right now, so you guys are in pressure. Alvin and Sean, you have to do it right now. But this is supposed to be fun. And the one thing that I like to give advice to seniors is that your application is really pretty much done as an incoming, or as you are a senior. You know, the most important piece of your application is always going to be your transcript. There's going to be no way to eclipse that or get around that. That is going to be the best way to demonstrate your readiness to move on to the college level. After that, your involvement and whatnot, it's all done. You're just doing a little formatting. You're putting things into black and white. But beyond those pieces are pretty much set in stone. Beyond that, this essay is your chance to really take ownership a little bit more and to provide some more light onto who you are as an individual, because that's very much, we put a lot of emphasis on that. As the identity of our institution, we're definitely going to say, we really want to get to know you on that more personal level, that holistic, individualized review. We very much take that to heart here, and you're going to hear that over and over again, as you probably already have as you talk to other institutions, but we definitely want to go beyond just what the transcript's going to offer. So you may want to ask, but why though? Why is there a college essay? You know, this is definitely the most dreaded part of the college application process, and it's definitely more than just a writing sample. Again, we want to get to know you on that more personal level. And here I say, at Villanova, we view our essays as unique opportunities to get to know students beyond the transcript. So there is a popular image, if it helps, the academic transcript as well as your test scores. They can kind of help give a picture or draw a picture of who you are as a student. But the essay allows you to add a little bit of color to that. So we want to get to know your creativity. We want to see your personality. We also want to kind of throw a situation at you, see how you react, and what's your ability to think critically. So we want to be a little bit more beyond just an A or a B. You know, we want to get to see beyond just that. Typical essay structure, you kind of, nothing too out of the box here, but this is the kind of general idea. You may have to format this a little bit differently depending on whether it's a long response or a short response, but the 5-paragraph essay is a really good model to keep in your mind as you're going through and crafting your essay. First paragraph, you know, you're gonna have your introduction to your idea, your thesis, your big idea. What is your takeaway that you want here? You're gonna have 3 supporting paragraphs where you gotta back that up. And then finally, you're gonna tie that all together with your final paragraph, summarize your thesis, draw a conclusion related to the future, make a strong, decisive statement. Tell me something that I need to know or that it is now proven to be true. For example, this is why wildcats are the best cats. You want to take me on a journey. So to kind of give another little image for you, we want to see a nice little arc in your essay. You want to have a nice, strong introduction as if you're kind of like running through a field, tossing flower petals from side to side, very idyllic, you know, beautiful imagery and whatnot, and have a nice soft landing. So that's kind of that whole little journey that we want to do. However, you want to avoid some potholes. The first thing that I always like to say also to students is that don't think you've had to have had you're fully self-actualized, have had this groundbreaking, meteor striking experience at only 17, 16, or 18 years old. You know, you're still at a very interesting intersection of your life where you're on an upward trajectory, you've got a lot of potential, but you're still a young person and you still are reaching things. So don't feel like you have to, you may have had one of those experiences, but no pressure if you haven't. And there are, I guarantee you, some interesting aspects of yourself that that we want to know about. Some influences in your life that have brought you to this point at this intersection. And again, we do like to use the phrase perfectly imperfect. This is not going to be you're not going to be able to get this right. Your writing ability as a senior in high school is going to be completely different from your writing ability as a senior in college. So don't put too much pressure on yourself. Again, take this seriously, but at the same time, know that this is not looking for perfection. That's not what creativity is. So we're trying to go beyond that. And also know that this is not going to be done in one write or one night. You're going to want to take some time with this. You're going to want to sit with this. I'd say that a lot. You want to sit with it for a little bit, react to it, see what those topics inspire in you. And some of the third thing, but it'll come back to me later. We're going to do a quick activity right now. So I want you to, if you have a little note section you can pull up, or if you have a pen and paper handle ready, we're going to try to give you some ammo as you are getting ready to write your college essay, or some things to think about and ponder as you are going to consider if you want to add some more, helpful things to your application. So we're going to do what's called a self-identity wheel. And on the circle, around the edges of the circle, you're going to see a lot of different areas of our personalities. And you may connect with others, may have given some of those a lot of thought. Again, you're still pretty much, you're very much a young person. You may have developed one particular area of your personality, and others you may not have given as much thought to. You're still very much developing, but you're at a different trajectory right now. And even if you did this exercise, another year from now, 2 years from now, it's going to be a little bit different in terms of what your answers are going to be. But I want you to kind of take a look at those different identities, and I want you to kind of think about where you are. You're going to number them. You'll see some numbers in the middle of the circle there. So number 1 is identities you think most often about. Number 2 would be identities you think least often about. 3 are identities your own identities you would like to learn more about. And 4, identities that you have the strongest effect on how you perceive yourself. And 5, identities that you have the greatest effect on how others perceive you. So kind of how you see yourself, how you think others see you. It can be really interesting to have these conversations with friends because however you think, whatever your strongest character traits are, you may hear from someone else, or you may have a perceived weakness that you hear from somebody else that, that's not true. That's not the case. So we, the classic saying, the unexamined life is not worth living. We're going to do a little bit more of dig deep into that. And to put a more inspirational twist, we're going to take one of my favorite quotes from St. Augustine, which is become what you are not yet. So that's the whole point here. We're going to go on a little journey. So take some time to kind of write those down, number those areas. I'm going to also list some questions that can also help guide you some thinking. They may peek off some area of interest or inspire a memory. But we're just going to go ahead and move through that. So we're going to take some time to go through that, number those, and then we can regroup. We can share if you want. We also don't have to, whatever your comfort level is. But I think a lot of discussion is really what can also lend itself to a lot of really great essays. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and pull up those questions, and feel free to just listen to the sound of my voice and continue to fill those in. Who are you? Who has helped shape you into the person you are today? What do you love to do? What are your core values / beliefs? What questions do you have about the world? Where do you see yourself in 4 years? Where is your favorite place? When do you find the most enjoyment in your everyday life? Why do you want to go to college? How do you see yourself and how do others see you? I'm going to give it another minute, let you kind of fill in for the circles for a little bit, and then I'm going to read the questions through one more time, and then we can regroup if you want. There's no pressure here. It's kind of just a little self-diagnostic, kind of checking in, seeing where you are in these areas. Again, you may have never considered any of these areas before. No pressure whatsoever. This is what you make of it. So I'll give it one more minute for you to fill in, and then we'll go through the questions one more time. And then if we want to share, we can do that. And we're going to read the questions through one more time. Who are you? Who has helped shape the person you are today? What do you love to do? What are your core beliefs or values? What questions do you have about the world? Where do you see yourself in 4 years? Where is your favorite place? When do you find the most enjoyment in your everyday life? Why do you want to go to college? How do you see yourself? And how do others see you? So I'm going to stop sharing for a quick second just so that we can all see each other. But if anyone would want to share what they wrote down or an area that, or something, it doesn't have to be particular to the wheel, but something inspired by the questions, any discussion if you want. But again, this is totally voluntary. If you're still writing, that's okay too. But feel free to let me know if there's anything on your mind that you want to discuss with the group. And I'll pull the color wheel back up, or the self-identity wheel, just in case you are still looking at that.
I wrote that my religion has a strong impact on how I perceive myself, just because I kind of like the Catholic identity is important to me and who I am.
Absolutely. Yeah, going to a Catholic school, that's something that's, a strong faith is definitely that's core there. And these things are also going to be important to you as you're looking for a college. And we'll kind of get into that too. But yeah, kind of matching up of your identity with the identity of the institution. That's also an important piece of the puzzle too, that the essay can help kind of flesh out. Thanks, Ben. I'm just going to stop there. Just give me a thumbs up if you are ready to move on. Okay, awesome. Yeah, again, no pressure to share or whatever, but it looks like we might have some few folks still working. So we'll give that some time. in the meantime, feel free to let me know if you want to share. And again, no pressure whatsoever. So I will also share this activity so that way you can have that if you want to keep working on it. It can be a really great thing to help you kind of focus in and kind of help push some more ideas forward. I'll also include the questions too, so that Mr. O'Keefe can provide those to you if you want to just fix. They are really good, just little like touch points, kind of check in, see where you are in certain things, and they can serve as really good catalysts for some pretty awesome essays. So just a fun exercise. We're going to go ahead and move on. But again, I will provide this so that if you want to check in with this later on. Again, doing this at different points of your life, a year from now, you could have different answers. So it's a fun activity to do as you continue to move through your development. So Ben actually hit the nail on the head in terms of the next thing I wanted to talk about, which is this college application process is very much a courtship. As much as you are trying to put your best foot forward for different schools, we're doing the same thing for you. We pay so much money in marketing material to make our campuses look inviting. And again, there is no way to really replicate that experience on campus, but we really want to put our best foot forward as well. There's a lot of schools out there. We work with a lot of talented individuals that have a lot of great options. And I always like to say with students, we're quite thankful that you're just considering Villanova to be one of yours. So thanks for that. So just keep that in mind as well, that you want to make sure that you are lining up with the ideals and the identity, the mission, the history of the institution as well. And if those things are both checking out and the stars align, then it seems like it's going to be a perfect match. So I also have the phrase in here, it's also a relationship that can change over time. So we'll talk about that. And what I mean by that is, do your research a lot of different institutions. And as you move through your whole college application search, you're going to have highs and lows. You're going to, the place that you kind of may have been your dream school at the beginning may not be where you wind up. And as long as you do your research, that's going to be okay. And then again, going through your essays and whatnot and looking at the essays of the institutions, they can help clue you in terms of the type of candidate that we are looking for. So again, fingers crossed that our stars are going to align there. For us at Villanova, again, every essay's process is a little bit different. We have essentially 3 essays that we're looking for. We're definitely taking a look at your Common App essay. You got your free choice for the responses that you want to do for there. And then we have our supplemental essays. So we have 4 essays, 4 prompts that we selected, and you are only going to choose one of those and respond to those. And then we have a shorter response of why Villanova, about 100 words. And again, each individual school is going to do things a little bit differently. And as you look at different schools, they're going to be able to clue you in terms of how they want you to answer each question. But again, really, as we completely demolished our entire process this summer. We had I think we had 3 essays last year, and then we were kind of thinking like we weren't really loving the responses that we were getting. So again, this is a very important part of the application. So all summer, we had a committee set up. We went through different topics. We voted on them. There are things that did not get used. Some things are siloed for potential future use. We really played around with the wording, did a lot of wordsmithing to make sure that we were asking the questions we wanted to ask. So a lot of revisions for even in the asking of the essay question, that's a whole process in and of itself. So keep that in mind as you're kind of trying to come up with a response for them. But the big unveiling, these are the 4 for the first response that we have. Are 4 options that you choose from. First one there is, what is the truest thing that you know? How did you come to this conclusion? Option 2, Villanovans are known for holding doors open because inclusion is at the core of who we are. Take us on a journey through your background and describe how your life experience has shaped your understanding of the word inclusion. Option 3 is Generation Z is arguably the most technologically savvy cohort in history. They find answers to questions, discover troves of new music, and even start the next global movement, all within seconds. How has the seemingly limitless connectivity influenced the person you have become? And finally, in St. Augustine's Confessions, one of the themes is the idea of redemption and second chances. Tell us a story about second chances. It can be your experience or one that you've come across through others or through media. So we are trying to just cast a wide net in terms of lots of different interesting topics that all come back to tying to what we're looking for in a candidate, but also are a little timely, a little topical. We definitely want to try to connect with you and just pick your brain a little bit about these interesting topics. Even if you hate them, let us know that too, because as I mentioned last summer, we completely demolished the old way that we did essays. We thought it might be more helpful to have the shorter essays so that you don't have to feel like you have to go on for 6 pages, but really want to get to the core of the question there. Any thoughts right now on terms of, or questions about our essay topics or anything that comes to mind? I'm not sure if you had a chance to read these before. I can also kind of ask at the end. Feel free to tune in now if you have a question about that or a thought, or if anything has provoked anything in you. And I know the virtual option can be a little odd. So again, we can come to questions later on, but feel free to, we can go into these kind of, if you have questions or are not too sure about what we're asking here, try to leave it as vague as possible because we want you to interpret that, but any support or guidance we can provide, we are more than happy to do that. But to tell you, this all comes from the Villanova identity. Each piece of that is, again, cluing you in on the type of applicant that we're looking for, trying to give you a little bit more about that. But if you look at the school seal, I love our school seal, and anyone is a really great way to do a quick little snapshot in terms of the identity, mission, and history of the institution. So when you look at ours, you get a lot of that. You see when we're founded in 1842, we have been around for a little bit, and above that, you're going to see a book in the center of that, which represents our commitment to education. And below that, you have Veritas, Unitas, and Caritas, which if you've done any research on Villanova, you're already familiar with. They translate to truth, unity, and love. And that all comes from the teachings and reading of St. Augustine. If you're not familiar with St. Augustine, he's a doctor of the church, a great mind of the Western world, a lot of great things to say, prolific writer. You know, I think when you equate his pages to today's standards, they're about 33,000 pages. I don't know the margins of those pages, but he had a lot of great things to say. And considering he was alive at a time when most of the world was illiterate, had a lot of great things there. But if you could pluck that little ribbon off of our school seal and wrap that around what it means to be a Villanovan, it's exactly that. It's the truth-seeking, community unity, being founded by a religious order, that natural zeal and of being togetherness, that's definitely there. And Caritas is that charity, caring, self-sacrificing love. Those are all parts of being a Villanovan. So that's what we bring into the final essay, because we kind of wanted you to have your free choice to respond to a few different areas, throw out some interesting topics, see what you respond to, see what resonates with you. And then we have our final essay, which is really focusing on our community. Well, you may be aware that our community, which we have affectionately named as Nova Nation, is an exciting place to be. With a legacy spanning 178 years, there's a rich history to look back on and an abundant future to look forward to. Our second Villanova essay question asks, which we want everyone to respond in bold, why do you want to call Villanova your new home and become part of our community? For this short response, please reveal what you find appealing about Villanova in about 100 words. So really just that strong emphasis on community. We're really proud of our longevity. We're really proud of our history, where we come from, where we're going. Fun fact, Villanova also means new home. So making sure that you are feeling welcome on campus, that's something that transcends just the faculty experience, staff experience, the student experience by peers. That's something that's core and essential to who we are as an institution. So again, these can help clue you in terms of, you know, what type of candidate we're looking for. And then that last word about there brings me to my next point. Yeah, about that. So don't stress too much. And this is kind of the same for a lot of your essays. Don't have that number in mind as I mean, definitely don't want to go on for 6 pages, as I mentioned, if you only have to do a short response essay, but don't try to hit that number exactly. You do have some wiggle room there when you are completing your essays. We really want you to make sure that you're just focusing on the question that's being asked, responding to that. And then my favorite phrase is try making your words count and worry less about counting your words. And then keep in mind, there are no right or wrong answers, just right answers. Again, we're just trying to look at you to your ability to think critically. There is no secret formula here. There is no code that we're trying, or trapdoor that we're trying to open up underneath, you know, ha, gotcha moment. We definitely are just throwing that out there, trying to see what resonates, what you're going to respond to. And we are doing this solely with the intent to get to know you better as an individual. So you want to speak your truth. I like to say that I think the best answers are personal answers. Those are the most memorable essays that I find as I've read literally thousands of them. So, as I mentioned, you may not have had that groundbreaking moment before, but there's a lot that has gone into making you who you are so far. So we have asked some catalyst finding questions, but we also have some brainstorming starts right here. These are really good areas that you can definitely hit that can help inspire future essays. And even if this isn't something that fits the question perfectly, you can probably get some good material here that you may be able to mold and shift to fit into one of those areas. But these are really fun topics that can just do some good to kind of do some exploration. So maybe a funny childhood memory, something you're passionate about, a favorite family member, and why you admire them. What are the traits that you look into and really that you love them for? How have they impacted becoming, why do you aspire to be like that person? Why your favorite song, book, movie? Why is it your favorite? Why does that resonate with you? What is the content? What is the topic? What are the words? What are the phrases? What is that? Why is it that sticks in your head and becomes, are you drawn towards that like a moth to the flame? What makes you feel proud? What's a personal improvement that you have made or you would still really like to work on? These are all really good areas to kind of try to find a little bit more and come to a better idea of yourself. Now, another little helpful tip, I'm not sure if the Spice Girls still really resonate with students in high school right now, but I feel like they are easily accessible to everyone. But every Spice Girl, if you think about it, they bring a little bit of difference to the whole girl group overall. And just as much as you want to have some variety in the Spice Girl group life, but also your sentence structure. And this can be a little helpful exercise too, looking over at just a little bit of what can happen if you just change things up every now and then. So the first paragraph, every word in that, or every sentence in that has 5 words. So I'm going to read that to you. This sentence has 5 words. Here are 5 more words. 5-word sentences are fine, but several together become monotonous. Listen to what is happening. The writing is getting boring. The sound of it drones. It's like a stuck record. The ear demands some variety. So even me reading out loud, I think it makes it sound a little bit more interesting, just since I am putting a little more some theatrics in that. But really want to kind of take a look at your essays, or at your essay and your sentences, and just see, can you play with that a little bit? Can you kind of shake things up a little bit? Let's try down here. Now listen, I vary the sentence length and I create music. Music. The writing sings. It has pleasant rhythm, a lilt, a harmony. I use short sentences, and I use sentences of medium length. And sometimes when I'm certain the reader is rested, I will engage him with a sentence of considerable length, a sentence that burns with energy and builds with the impetus of a crescendo. The roll of the drums, the crash of the cymbals, sounds that say, listen to this, it is important. So write with a combination of short, medium, and long sentences. Create a sound that pleases the reader's ear. Don't just write words, write music. So a lot of times you can get docked if you have a long run-on sentence, but they can, if you've got a good momentum going, they can be a really fun way to switch things up. But yeah, if you want to kind of look at how your sentences are structured and kind of play with those a little bit, can you put an idea as a single phrase? Those can be all helpful ways to really help jazz up, to go with that music analogy a little bit more, your writing. Another important thing I like to say is show, don't just tell. I know a lot of times we think that we say a certain thing, but we have an idea in our head and we're trying to communicate that on paper to someone else. So it can be really good to just make sure that you're being as descriptive as possible. So in kindergarten, you had show and tell. So you need to make sure that you're doing that. Don't just tell me that you have a certain characteristic. You also want to go ahead and tell me maybe an example of a story. How did you demonstrate that characteristic? Those are all things that you can really expand upon a certain idea, especially if you're feeling stuck. You can kind of say, well, is there any way that can provide some more visual imagery that will help someone formulate this? And it's good to hand off your essay to someone else, because again, as much as you think that you are getting all of your ideas on paper, someone else may read that and they may not have a clear idea of what you're trying to convey. So again, passing it off to someone else can be a good idea. Also, you want to make sure that you seriously proofread, and you think it's just something, and that's kind of embarrassing to have in, just kidding, that is totally intentional, but how I want that to read is seriously proofread, and proofread seriously. You would be really amazed at how many times we receive an essay and there is just something that's slightly askew, and you really wanted to have that I capitalized. No, you're not going to be not admitted if you don't accidentally do something like that, but it does come across a certain way. So you want to make sure that you really are, again, taking your time with this, going over this time and time again, and also passing it off to another individual to kind of have a second look there. But as it says in there, a little extra time can check your work can go a long way. How many times have you sent that essay through or that email, and then as soon as you click submit, you catch that last check that you wanted to do, or that last edit that you should have made? You're just like, oh. So really want to take your time with this and make sure that you are putting and presenting yourself in the best light when you are putting your essay together. And then that one piece that I keep alluding to is to pass off your essay so that you can get a second opinion on that. Again, make sure that you're going for a second opinion, not a rewrite. It can be super helpful to check with someone to see what are their thoughts? Are your ideas coming throughly? Are you being descriptive enough? Are you really hitting your idea home? Are your arguments really sound enough? But also, you want to make sure that it's still your voice at the end. You do have a lot of ammo in your pocket right now. You've got a lot of great resources. You have a college counseling office, your parents, you have friends, people who know you best. They can definitely take that piece of writing and see, is this a clear demonstration of who I am as an individual? And so that can be a really good tool to use, but also make sure that it is a tool and not a crutch. So that's kind of my spiel of that. Shouldn't dramatically change the original content of your essay. It can give you some really good hints. They can give you some suggested improvements, but overall, just want that to remain as guidance and not as completely changing the content overall. Some additional closing helpful hints that I think can be great. Consider having a hook and some humor. They were crying. They were all crying. Marley was dead to begin with. There's no doubt whatever about that. The second one, Charles Dickens' Christmas Carol, but the first one is actually my favorite essay that I read last application cycle. It was about a girl, and she was a dance teacher, and she was basically, the overall message of the essay was expectation versus reality. She was super excited to finally be a dance teacher. She envisioned all the girls were going to have tight little buns, hair sprayed back, everything was going to go perfectly, but it all devolved into madness as she was unable to have good classroom management skills, which any teacher will tell you is the most important key to running a successful classroom. But that's how she started her essay. They were crying. They were all crying. Just two short little sentences that really just hooked you and pulls you in. Now, use humor if you're good at humor. If that's one of your strengths, definitely play to it. Or if you want to experiment with it a little bit, try it out. If your essay is not funny, then definitely don't want to use humor. But I think it can be a fun way to kind of draw someone in and keep them there. Again, details. Tell me more, like, did he have a car? Use vivid, descriptive language. Again, just really making sure that you're not selling yourself short in terms of going above and beyond to help paint that picture that's up here and put that down here so that I can receive it on my end when I'm reading your essay. Avoid excessive use of dialogue. You want to make sure that you are not giving me a script. I don't want to read that. I definitely want to read a quick little snapshot in terms of your writing. If there's too much, dialogue can be a helpful tool, but again, if it's just they said this and then they said that, definitely can make it a little bit less interesting. And again, don't be scared to get uncomfortable or be vulnerable. We are trying to push that button to see exactly go beyond the surface level. You can definitely submit an essay that just kind of stays there, does not really go beyond just the surface or the facade of you. But we are looking for something a little bit more interesting. So if you're looking to do something a little bit more memorable when it comes to your essay, lean into it a little bit more, lean into that discomfort, explore it a little bit. Don't overuse big words. That's a huge one. Make sure that you use the language that you are most comfortable with. Don't feel like you have to use words to impress me. You can definitely tell if a student is not entirely comfortable with wielding that word. You want to make sure that your thesaurus is not consuming you. Wear the dress, don't let the dress wear you. Make sure that you have a strong command of your language as you are putting together that essay. And again, I'm going to summarize it with take some time to sit with it. See how the prompt moves you. What does it make you feel? What ideas come to head? Map it out a little bit. Don't feel as though you have to sit down and get that. Even though it's a short response essay, you're like, 250 words. So how easy can that be? You want to make sure that you're definitely taking that time to really let it sink in, let it marinate a little bit before, because this is going to be essentially a work of art. It's a clear demonstration of your personality, your creativity, your ability to think critically. So you want to make sure that all of those things are happening as part of the process as you are going through it. And at that, those are all the items that I wanted to hit. So I will turn it over to David S. Pumpkins with any questions, as we're pretty on brand for Halloween, or anything that you would like to share as well. I know we're coming up on time too.
Yeah, for the Why Us essay for Villanova, would you recommend writing it like, when I get to Villanova, I will join this club? Or if given the opportunity to go to Villanova, I would like to join this club?
Yeah, so really it's going to be however you interpret it. I mean, it's not going to be like, oh, wow, that's not strong enough. Like they're still speaking in like a more of a conditional sense. So they don't really want to be a wildcat. We're not going to dock you from that. Really, we just want to gauge at kind of when you're looking at that essay, when you're coming to Villanova, like what put Villanova on your radar, what excites you about the institution, what you want. If you want to say, I would like to do this, or I'm going to do this, that's absolutely okay. I personally feel that stronger language is always better in an essay. But again, that can sometimes be a personal preference. But more so, we're just trying to get at, why we take ourselves as a community, we're very proud of that heritage. We're very proud of our identity, and we have a very strongly defined identity. So we want to know, what is it about that resonates with you? Again, Villanova being a new home, you don't just call anywhere home. There's a house, there's also a home. So what draws you in? What makes you want to be part of the Villanova community?
All right, thank you.
No problem.
Can I actually build on that a little, Andy? Because I think that's probably the most common supplemental question that pops up at schools all over the place. And I think it's very easy for students to fall into the trap of almost like rewriting the brochure of like, oh, there's this, and like, I know you have this many students, and I think that I would be, what is a way to sort of show that you're connected to the school without really like just listing all the things that a school is?
Right, exactly that. Yeah, that's a really great phrase, Mr. O'Keefe. So thank you for saying that. Don't rewrite the brochure. Don't, but yeah, don't just list off a bunch of things. We're looking more for like the spirit of Villanova, not really kind of just saying like, oh, I want to major. And even if you want to major in something, like what's passionate, what draws you into that program? What can we do for you through internship opportunities and everything like that? So kind of just want to go beyond, reach a little bit deeper. You only have 100 words, which, it's a little, but it's also a lot to try to, master those words and make sure that you are responding to the question in that time. And also, again, I will say I'm aware that this virtual option is so different than being in the classroom. I think it really changes the whole dynamic of everything. And that's okay. I mean, I'm sure that there's a lot that's going on in your mind right now. You've got a lot of things happening outside of this. But I am also okay. Sometimes with writing, you have to sit in silence too, so.
It might also be like, if you've come across a supplemental question so far that you're just like, I don't even know what this is asking. Like, what is this prompt? If you want to throw it out there right now for the group, and like Andy and I can give you a little bit of feedback of what a school may be looking at or a strategy that you might use there. We covered a lot of different strategies that you could tackle before, but I really like, as a former English teacher, I love the phrasing that, your writing here should be a little bit fun and a little bit, explore and take some risks and see what you can do. So sometimes that it helps to sort of brainstorm with a group.
It also helps to wear a Villanova sweatshirt, such as Sean. Don't think that went unnoticed.
Thank you. I have a question on the supplemental.
Sure.
Do you have any advice for those unique questions that are like, what would your theme song be? Or like, if you were a fruit, what would you be? Those unique ones. I had a couple of those.
Yeah, so again, this is really trying to get at your personality. So really just, you can answer that response and kind of just have your surface level answer there, but you want to build in the description. Why do you feel support? Make those bold statements, take your risks, be vulnerable. So just don't feel like, oh, well, I'm a grape. and then leave it at that. Well, why are you a grape? Because you're part of a community, you all bunch together. There's a lot of different ways you can do that. Like you eat like a fine wine, you're better with age. There's a lot of different ways that you can go with that, different analogies that you can make. But yeah, so just kind of go as deep as you're able to with that.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
I would add that some of those prompts, they're kind of fun and they're intentionally kind of fun. If you wanted to then take that prompt and, talk about it with your family at the dinner table, like if you had to have a theme song, what would your theme song be, Dad? And like bounce it off your friends and sort of see, like let it evolve while you sit with it. You don't have to sit in silence or solitude, that you could definitely have some brainstorming conversations and start to say, oh, wait a second, I'm starting to see where this is going to go. The idea of these questions being unique is no one's going to answer the same question two ways. So it's not like if someone else is applying, if you're both applying to Villanova, someone's not going to steal your answer because you brainstorm together. So use that as an opportunity to sort of dig with your friends.
And I'll also give you an example too. Last year we had 3 responses that you could respond to. And one of the questions was, every community is different. I'm going to just paraphrase here. Every community is different. You could come from the largest city in the world, or your town could have one stoplight. How has your community impacted you? And we kind of started getting, it was also on our part too, the way the question was phrased, we kind of started getting just a lot of surface level answers. So we were more so trying to hone in on that community identity and more so wanted to pull at that more so than just like my town population is this. So just trying to, going beyond that, go a little bit deeper. And again, we tried to revamp our essays this year. So we're going to kind of see what we get. But we're pretty excited about the different responses that are there. But yeah, you have a ton of sounding boards out there. Definitely toss it around, throw the question out to other people and see what they say. If that helps inspire or spark any inspiration in your own mind. Yeah, definitely.
Are there any other questions or ideas or something that maybe you just want to workshop a little bit while we have a group that's diving deep on this right now?
Still got my coffee ready, so we can go as deep as we need. The bigger cup too.
Okay. Andy, I just want to say thank you for joining us. I mean, I think this was an incredibly helpful workshop, and I hope that you gave some great ideas, or I hope our students took away some of the great ideas from your presentation. You definitely had some great ideas and some of the best gifts I've seen in a PowerPoint this year, which I think I've seen a lot of PowerPoints and to come up with number 1, that's good.
Gotcha. Well, I'd like to hear that. Again, Jack, Mr. O'Keefe, thank you so much for coordinating today's event and folks tuning in today. I'm always available, if you want to tune in, and even if you want to have some more focused questions for our essays, if you're putting together an application for Villanova, more than happy to address any of those questions as you move through the process. So
awesome. Thanks so much. And if you haven't seen Clue the movie yet, 2 + 2 + 1 + 2, like by all means, get on that.
I don't know how many of those references are going to land, but I was like,
they landed with me. They landed with me.
Yeah.
All right. Everyone, thank you so much. Seniors, I'll see you on campus later today for the breast cancer walk. Andy, thank you for being such a great partner to CM. And we look forward to continuing to work together as we move forward.